everybody, to the 5th edition of Across the Goal Line. As always, I'm Corey Maines. With me is Luke Goddessart. This week we have a kind of a special edition because we are recording right now on a Tuesday, and this will be uploaded on a Wednesday because we will be doing a Best of the Month episode on our regular day Friday for April. It will contain a bunch of the best bits, best topics that we talked about over our first 4 episodes throughout April here. So let's get into it. We're going to be talking about the NFL schedules that came out a few weeks ago. We'll be talking about Payback, which is this Sunday. We're also going to talk about some of the local athletes that have come from around our area here in Clearfield, Pennsylvania. But we will start with NASCAR, and we're going to recap kind of this, first 2 months of it so far, up to this point? 3
months.
3 months of it so far, up to this point, April 26th. We had a race just this Sunday. So NASCAR kicked off February 21st with the Daytona 500, which saw Danny Hamlin edge out Martin Truex Jr. in a photo finish.
And it was one of the closest finishes I've ever witnessed. But the closest one I ever witnessed was back in 2011 at Talladega Motor Speedway down in Talladega, Alabama. And it was a 4-wide photo finish as well between Jimmy Johnson, Clint Bowyer, Jeff Gordon, and Carl Edwards. Johnson ended up beating Bowyer by 2/1000ths of a second. And it was the closest finish in NASCAR history since NASCAR adopted the electronic timing in 1993. And that's our stat of the week this week, folks.
All right, next week they went to Atlanta, which saw Jimmy Johnson take home the win.
First one of the season for Johnson. Johnson's also my favorite driver. I don't know if I mentioned that whenever we had the question of the week about who our favorite players, teams, superstars were. But Jimmy Johnson's my favorite NASCAR driver. It was, as I said, it was his first one of the season. It's also his 76th of his career, tying the late, great Dale Earnhardt.
The following week, it was the Cobalt 400 taking place in Las Vegas, and Brad Keselowski won that one.
Yeah, Brad Keselowski drives the number 2 Miller Lite Ford. Miller Lite, good call.
Phoenix was next week. Kevin Harvick won that one.
Kevin Harvick, he's owned Phoenix the past couple years, especially in the spring. It was his 3rd straight win at Phoenix during the spring.
Jimmy Johnson won his 2nd race of the season in Fontana, California, his home track, at the Auto Club 400.
He ended up, as you said, winning that race, driving a Superman light car. Him and Dale Earnhardt were sponsoring Batman vs. Superman, the movie that came out. Johnson, Superman, Earnhardt Jr., Batman, as I said. But Johnson won. He passed the Intimidator, Dale Earnhardt, on the all-time wins list.
They took a week off after that, and they came back the week later in Martinsville, which saw Kyle Busch take home the victory.
Yeah, they took the week off before that because of Easter. They never race on Easter. Martinsville was the first short track race of the year. It took place on April 3rd, I think you said there, Corey. April 3rd was also opening day of baseball. It was WrestleMania weekend and Final Four weekend, too. So it was a very, very busy weekend of sports.
Kyle Busch actually won the very next week for his 2nd win of the season in Texas.
Yeah, 6 days later, the first night race of the year down at Texas. Texas spring race is always a night race. But it was delayed for over 2 hours. And as you said, Kyle Busch won and didn't get over till about 1 a.m.
Bristol was the following week, and Carl Edwards picked up his first win of the season.
Bristol, another short track race.
And then this past Sunday in Richmond, Carl Edwards won his 2nd consecutive race, picking up his 2nd win of the season.
Yeah, Richmond in the spring is normally a night race. They changed it up this year. It was a day race on a Sunday, but it's a night race now in the fall. So they're going to try to compete with college football on Saturday night here it comes in September. And then coming up here the next couple races, you got Talladega this Sunday, Kansas the following Saturday night, and then Dover, and then you got the All-Star race, and then the following weekend after that, we're at Memorial Day weekend already, you got the Coke 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And starting next week as well, we're going to have weekly results for NASCAR.
All right, we're going to move forward into a topic that's a little more near and dear to our hearts, according to our location. We live in Clearfield, Pennsylvania, which is a little city kind of in the almost dead center of Pennsylvania, surrounded by a bunch of other little more smaller cities. Probably the closest, most notable thing to us is State College, which is obviously home to Pennsylvania State University, more commonly known as Penn State University, the Division I school there. So we're going to talk about some guys that have come from around this area of ours, Penn State and all that, who have made it bigger in the sports world, either professionally, maybe like minor league or something like that, and even collegiately, Division I schools like that too.
Starting off, Matt Adams, professional baseball player for the St. Louis Cardinals. He's from Phillipsburg, which is about 20 minutes, half hour from Clearfield here. He attended Slippery Rock University, but when he was in high school, he was on the team, but he never played. So he got the last laugh. He was a 23rd round pick in the 2009 MLB draft, as I said, out of Slippery Rock. He also holds some records at Slippery Rock. One's for career batting average at .473, and the other's for slugging percentage at .754. He made his big league debut back in 2012, May 20th, 2012 to be exact, when the Cardinals placed then first baseman Lance Berkman on the DL, 15-day DL, I believe. And they needed a first baseman, so Adams was tearing it up down in AAA, and he ended up getting the call. He went 2 for 4 in his first game, and he's been slugging the ball like crazy ever since. And then also you have Devin Mesoraco from Punxsutawney. The Cincinnati Reds fans call him the Groundhog because Punxsutawney is known for the Groundhog and for Groundhog's Day, February 2nd of every year. But as I said, Mesoraco plays for the Reds. He was drafted in the first round out of high school, 15th overall in the 2007 MLB draft. He was the 2007 PA Gatorade Player of the Year. He's had some injuries in recent years. Starting last year, he hurt his hip and had hip surgery and was out most of the year. Adams was also hurt most of all last year. He tore his quad up. But the year before that, Mesoraco was an all-star, his first all-star selection. But he's playing pretty well so far. And those two guys are the two main guys from our area for baseball. Now, into football, you have John Kondo. He's also from Phillipsburg, Pennsylvania. He attended the University of Maryland down in College Park and was signed as a free agent to the Dallas Cowboys back in 2005. He played for the Cowboys for a year, and then he signed with the Oakland Raiders in 2006 and has been with them ever since. He's a long snapper. He's also a 2-time Pro Bowler. Now, sticking with football, we have a local product from Clearfield, Andrew Janoko. Played quarterback at Clearfield Area High School. Then attended the University of Pittsburgh, obviously. And then went to be a assistant at Rutgers under Greg Schiano. And then once Greg Schiano left to go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the National Football League, Andrew was asked if he would join along with them, and accepted a assistant coaching position down with the Buccaneers. Janoko then went to, I believe it was Teal, up towards Erie, to be a quarterbacks coach. And then after 1 year at Teal, he went to the Minnesota Vikings, where he is currently at right now. You can see him sitting beside Norv Turner up in the box on TV. I think I said that last episode. So, Andrew, I know you're out there listening right now. We'd like to start doing interviews on here on Across the Goal Line. So, if you could do us a huge favor and get us somebody like Adrian Peterson or Teddy Bridgewater or Mike Zimmer, your guys' head coach, your boss, that'd be greatly appreciated. sticking with football now, you got the Lesser Boys, Christian and Ryan. Christian's my age, well, our age. He attended Boston College University. He is still currently up there. He has since retired from football, though, due to concussion issues. He's had about 6 or 7 in his career, and I actually thought it was a good call on his part. I'd rather be able to, live the rest of his life the way he wants to, rather than having, say medical issues the rest of his life. But then his younger brother Ryan, he's currently a junior in high school here at Clearfield. He has about 20 or 21 Division I offers to play college football. Some notable ones are from Army, Buffalo, Air Force. He also has a lot of lower D1 offers. But we wish Ryan the best of luck here in the recruiting process. It's going to fly by here, the next year. So Eric Sherkel just went through the recruiting process. He's from Moshannon Valley, about half hour from Clearfield as well. And he's going to be attending Bowling Green University out in Ohio. I'm not sure what position he's going to be playing. So Eric, if you're out there listening as well, tweet us back, comment on Facebook, email us, whatever you got to do. Let us know. Give us some inside information that we don't have. Going back to the late 90s now, Justin Ingram, my uncle, and then Nate Glunt both played football over at Penn State. Both backed up the great LeVar Arrington, who was a number 2 overall pick to the Washington Redskins back in the 2000 NFL Draft. What else we got here? Chad Surratt and Luke Curtis, 2 minor league baseball players. Chad's from Clearfield, attended Penn State Barron. Luke is from Phillipsburg, attended Pittsburgh University of Pittsburgh. And Chad actually just got released. We just got word he got released a little bit ago from the Colorado Rockies. So we wish him the best of luck, trying to find his new home, living out his dream of playing professional baseball. But Luke is currently still in the minors for the Milwaukee Brewers. Justin Hazelton now, he's had a big impact on Matt Adams. He's from Phillipsburg as well. He was actually one of our teachers in high school for exercise physiology. Interesting class. Sorry I'm losing my voice there, folks, but Hazelton actually played in the minors. He was part of the Detroit Tigers organization. And then he was also part of the Texas Rangers and the Cleveland Indians. But he never made the big league roster. He played in the minors his whole career from 1996 to 2000. Another baseball player, going the whole way back to the late 1800s, you have Miles Thomas. He was born in State College, Pennsylvania, on October 22nd, 1897. He played for the New York Yankees from 1926 to 1929. So he was part of those New York Yankee World Series teams. And he was nicknamed Duckeye by Babe Ruth. So whatever the hell that's supposed to mean, if Babe Ruth was still alive, we could ask him, but whatever the hell Duckeye is supposed to mean, we don't know. If anyone does know, let us know. Doug Brokill, he's from Clearfield, also played baseball. Played for 17 years in the big leagues. He was a former pitcher that played for the Padres, Astros, Tigers, Rangers, and then he played for the Padres and Astros again to finish out his career. He has a career win-loss record of 52 and 48 and a 4.00 ERA and a total of 642 strikeouts. He's currently the pitching coach for those Texas Rangers, who have aces like Hugh Darvish and Cole Hamels. Before we get into other, say celebrities, I think Corey mentioned it. I don't know if he did. If not, we're going to be talking about some celebrities from our area as well. We have some other football players. Robbie Gould, Larry Johnson, both former Penn State Nittany Lions. Robbie Gould is from Lock Haven, and Larry Johnson is from State College. Both were on the... Larry Johnson was before Gould, I believe. Yeah. Johnson played from 99 to 2002. Gould played from 2001 to 2004. And is currently still playing for the Chicago Bears. He's been the Chicago Bears kicker ever since he was signed to him. Larry Johnson had his troubles, got into some trouble with sexual assault, I believe. Jordan Norwood, also from State College, currently plays for the Denver Broncos, actually holds a record in Super Bowl history now for the longest punt return in Super Bowl history. That just occurred 2 months ago in Super Bowl 50 against the Carolina Panthers. Matt Suhey, his kids also played at Penn State, as he did. Born in Bellefonte, attended State College area high school. He was a second-round pick by the Bears in 1980, and he ran for over 3,000 yards and 20 touchdowns. And he started 100 of 148 career games. So he was a part of the Super Bowl 20. I've been having some trouble talking lately. I don't know why. He was part of the Super Bowl 20 Bears team in 1985 that had Jim McMahon, all those superstars. Mike Reed, he's from Altoona, former football player as well. Attended Penn State, and he was a top 10 pick by the Cincinnati Bengals in the 1970 NFL Draft. He's a two-time Pro Bowler in his short career. Only played for 5 seasons. He retired due to hand and knee injuries, and he wanted to focus on his songwriting career. In 1984, he won a Grammy for Best Country Song, Ronnie Millsap's Stranger in My House. And he also worked with the likes of Maria Osmond, Alabama, and Conway Twitty. Hello, darling. Throughout the 1980s and 90s, he wrote a total of 12 number one hits, and then also in 1987, he was elected the College Football Hall of Fame. Jim Dixon, also known as the Gentleman Little Giant, I believe that's what his name was, in wrestling. Actually just passed away 2 months ago. Yeah, he was known as Gentleman Jim the Giant in the WWF, and he wrestled a lot of those WWF stars back in the 1980s and 90s. Also another wrestler was John McCauley. He was also another one of our teachers. He wrestled Kurt Angle on SmackDown November 30th, 2004, and was defeated by Kurt Angle. He submitted to him. And speaking of Kurt Angle, I know I talked about him in a previous episode, about him attending Clarion University and him knowing Pat Pallow, another one of our teachers. We've had our fair share of teachers that either know a lot of people or are famous themselves. So McCauley didn't really have a good run in professional wrestling. Only wrestled 2 matches in the WWE, but he did a lot of indie work for all your wrestling buffs out there. You know what the indies are. Oh, and before I forget, Chuck Daly. Chuck Daly was a basketball coach from Punxsutawney, also where Devin Mesoraco is from. He He was the head coach for the 1992 Dream Team that had the likes of Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Karl Malone, John Stockton. Who else was on that team, Corey?
I think Isaiah Thomas as well.
Yeah, a bunch of Hall of Famers. To sum it up for Chuck Daly, he actually passed away in 2009 at the age of 78. So rest in peace, Chuck Daly. As I said, other notables such as actors and musicians from our area. You have Joshua Leonard. He's an actor. He was born in Houston, Texas, but he was raised in State College because his dad was a professor over at Penn State. He starred in The Shaggy Dog with Tim Allen and a number of TV shows such as CSI and Bates Motel. And then you have Anne McCree. McCree? Yeah, I think I pronounced that right. She was an actress that was born in Du Bois in 1931, and she starred on the Donna Reed Show back in the 1960s, and was also in the movie The War Wagon in 1967 alongside the Duke, John Wayne, who's also my favorite actor. Chris Kirkpatrick, musician. He was born in Clarion, and he was a member of NSYNC. But before we bye to this little segment here, we got two more people from Clearfield, Ramel Hawkins and Ryan Pelton. Ramel is a costume designer for film and television out in Los Angeles. She's worked on some shows such as Desperate Housewives and About a Boy. Now, Ryan Pelton went to Clearfield High School, as I said. Both him and Ramel, before I forget, both know my mom. Ryan was in my mom's study hall, I believe, but we'll save that story for another day. Ryan's one of the best Elvis impersonators there is. He looks identical to Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll. God rest his soul as well. And also, in our episode for Best of April, Prince also died last Thursday. And China, the ninth wonder of the world, also died. And that episode will be dedicated to them, along with Balls Mahoney, Blackjack Mulligan,
Will Smith, and Ed Snyder.
Yeah, Will Smith, the football player, not the actor. And that pretty much sums up our local people. There's a number of people from our area that have made it big time, and we're trying to do the same thing with this podcast. Please share all of our posts. Please retweet all of our tweets. Email us if you have any questions. We're trying to make it big time here with this podcast, talking about sports week in and week out. Do you like what you hear? If so, you need to check out Silence Our Perdition, a metal band from Clearfield, Pennsylvania. They're fairly new in the music industry, but they're on the rise. Some songs include Slaves to Obedience, Never, Six, Left and Solace, and An Untold Story. Be sure to like Silence Our Perdition on Facebook and follow at SO Perdition on Twitter. You can contact them on either Facebook or Twitter. Do you like hunting, fishing, or talking about the outdoors? If so, you need to check out Downriver Outdoors, an outdoors channel on YouTube that brings you some of the best footage of hunting and fishing from the backwoods of Central PA. They also tell some great outdoors stories. Be sure to subscribe to Downriver Outdoors on YouTube.
WWE Payback is this Sunday live on the WWE Network, and it sees the WWE World Heavyweight Championship on the line as Roman Reigns, the champion, takes on AJ Styles. Alongside that match, there are 7 other matches scheduled for the card, including 3 more title matches. Also included will be a little segment in which Vincent Kennedy McMahon, the chairman of WWE, will decide between his son and his daughter, Shane McMahon and Stephanie McMahon, who will be in control of Monday Night Raw. So we're going to give you our predictions and preview the match card here. So we're going to start with lower card. We're going to start with the pre-show, which sees the United States Championship on the line. The U.S. champion Kalisto takes on Ryback, a rematch of WrestleMania. So, Luke, who do you have in that match?
I really don't care about this match. I mean, I like Ryback, and I'd like to see him win, but I really don't know what they're, planning to do with the U.S. title here in the near future. So we could see anything happen with this match.
I agree with your sentiments about not caring about this match because, it's on the pre-show. It's not on the main show, which also goes to your point about you don't know what they're doing with the U.S. title because they're putting on pre-shows. It was on the pre-show of WrestleMania, for crying out loud. And this is a major championship.
It was like the pre-show because I think we said, we were getting ready to watch WrestleMania and we were waiting for this match and, it already took place and we didn't find out until WrestleMania was over. But anyways.
So, yeah, okay, my pick is Kalisto just because, honestly, like you said, I have no idea what they're doing with the U.S. title, so maybe they'll just keep it on Kalisto. Maybe Ryback picks it up, who knows? It doesn't really matter to me. So, next match on the card, we're going to move on to Baron Corbin, who's in his first singles match at WWE Pay-Per-View, taking on Dolph Ziggler. Luke, who do you have?
I think Corbin has a lot of momentum on his side. I mean, he won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, the third annual Andre the Giant Battle Royal at WrestleMania, pretty much out of nowhere because that was another match that we thought, was going to take place early and it didn't take place till late in the night, and we thought that match might have got canceled, but, out of nowhere, here comes Baron Corbin walking out, and he ended up winning, beating Kane and the Big Show, I believe.
Yeah, he threw out Kane to win that match entirely. I also have Baron Corbin in this match because of similar reasons to you. He has a lot of momentum. He is debuting on the main roster now with his win at WrestleMania. He's a guy that I think WWE is really interested in. He's that really big guy. He's, 6'7", 6'8", or something like that. Former football player.
Yeah, former football player in the NFL. He played for the Cardinals for a couple years, I don't know if I should say alongside Mojo Rawley, who's down in NXT, also played for the Cardinals. I don't know if they're together, so that's why I said that. He also played for the Packers as well. But yeah, Corbin's like 6'7", 6'8", as you said, former football player.
I mean, because of that, I think WWE really wants to maybe push him. He's a guy that I think is going to be booked to be dominant for a little bit here in WWE at the beginning of his run. So I think he goes over a guy like Ziggler, who is really fallen off since winning the world title back in like 2010 or something like that.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be seeing a brand split here coming up with McMahon, choosing between his children on who's going to run Raw, and then I think the loser will run whoever he doesn't pick to run Raw will run SmackDown. You got a brand split. They'll have a draft again, But I think both Corbin and Ziggler could end up on SmackDown.
I'm glad you bring that up. We might as well go to that right now. The segment featuring Vince McMahon, Shane McMahon, his son, and Stephanie McMahon, his daughter, choosing who's going to run Raw. So, Luke, you brought it up already about what you think might happen after this type of segment on the following week. So, who do you have Vince McMahon taking as the controller of Raw?
I think he's going to choose Shane because that's what the fans want, and I think they're at a point right now that they need to boost some sales for pretty much everything, and really don't know how to explain it, but I see him picking Shane, but I don't think he's going to actually pick him on Sunday. I think there's going to be some type of
I think there's going to be like a match or something, maybe?
Like I said, I don't really know how to explain it. No, I don't think there's going to be a match, but I think he'll end up picking Shane in the long run, but I don't think it's going to be this Sunday.
Well, I think he might pick Shane this Sunday in a sort of surprise thing because I'm sure everyone's probably thinking that he's just going to pick Stephanie because, of course, she's more aligned with Vince right now. Of course, Vince had Shane set up for failure completely at WrestleMania in a match that literally doesn't really matter on the scheme of things because Shane is running Raw right now.
Yeah, he jumped off the top of the Hell in a Cell against The Undertaker, which was just crazy. It was mind-blowing. It was all those types of words. And Shane was on Raw the next night. Where was Stephanie at? She was nowhere to be seen except for until last night.
Well, she got speared by Roman Reigns. though. So
Still, Shane jumped off the top of a Hell in a Cell.
Oh, but Roman Reigns spears kills people though. So so yeah, I have Shane winning or not winning, getting picked by Vince to run Raw, leading to a further feud. Maybe not the brand split immediately right now. Maybe later down the line over the summer here. I've heard that Shane fighting for control of Raw is kind of like the summer storyline for this. Maybe him versus Triple H and Stephanie. Maybe there's a match coming at like SummerSlam or something for total control of Raw, and then the brand split happens then. So we'll have to stay tuned and see what happens further on. But I think this Sunday, Vince kind of, maybe not shockingly, but he picks Shane McMahon to run Raw for at least for the time being. We're going to move on to another singles match here on the card. We have Chris Jericho taking on the Lunatic Fringe, Dean Ambrose in the regular old singles match. So, Luke, who do you have in this one?
John Moxley. That was his name in the Indies. Also known as Dean Ambrose now, as you said, Lunatic Fringe. Going up against Fozzie's lead singer, Chris Jericho. Jericho's a heel. Ambrose is a face. I see Ambrose winning this match, gaining even more momentum. Seth Rollins is going to be returning here. There's a rumor out there they're getting the Shield back together, possibly. I don't see that happening just because of how all that went down, but, it's WWE. They've, made stuff work before. They'll make stuff work again. So I see Ambrose winning this match, gaining even more momentum, like I said. And, who knows? He could win the Royal Rumble next year and possibly, we could see a triple threat next year at WrestleMania 33 down in Orlando at the Citrus Bowl for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship or the WWE Championship if they split the brands, because I think if they do split the brands, the world title would come back and that would be on SmackDown. The WWE title would be on Raw. Enough of me going on about it. I have Ambrose beating Jericho, as I said, now for the third time.
I, too, will pick Dean Ambrose in this match because, similarly, he is the good guy, so to speak, in this match. Fans love him. A win would also obviously give him a lot of momentum after losing to Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, which no shame in losing to Brock Lesnar at first.
I mean, he's a beast incarnate.
He's the most dominant superstar in WWE right now, for sure. Whenever he does show up.
Yeah, it's his schedule. That's why he only appears, at so many dates. But he has Paul Heyman, his advocate by his side as well.
Plus, if you live by a rule of booking, you could say whoever gets the better of whoever they're facing at a pay-per-view on Raw typically will lose at the pay-per-view. So Jericho came out on top against Ambrose last night on Raw. So I think Ambrose will pick up the win in Payback. Okay, so moving on, we're going to go to the Women's Championship match. Charlotte with Ric Flair in her corner. We're just going to say that right now because of Natalya, who she is facing, will have someone in her corner. None other than her uncle, Bret Hart.
Bret the Hitman Hart. Haven't seen him in quite some time. He actually just got done battling cancer, so we wish him the best in the future. But it's, as you said, it's the Women's Championship now. Used to be the Divas Championship before this, and then it was the Women's Championship before that. Obviously, they can change stuff up any way they want to. It's storytelling is what it is, but it's pro wrestling at the same time. As they say, it's wrestling and sports entertainment. So, but I think Natty is gonna win this match. Charlotte always finds a way to win with her father at ringside. Now Natty, Natalya, has her uncle, as you said, Bret Hart, on her side, so in her corner. So I see Natty using Bret to beat Charlotte for the Women's Championship.
I do see where you're coming from. Having Bret Hart in her corner for Natalya is going to really help her, and it does make it seem like she can win this match, but I do not think she will. Because Ric Flair, I think, still gets interferes with the match, and Bret maybe does take him out, but I don't know if it's enough for Natalya to actually take over Charlotte as the top woman in the division at the moment, signified by her title, of course. So maybe Brett does take out Rick, but still Charlotte picks up the win anyway with a figure 8, I do believe. Moving to the probably going to steal the show for this match right here coming up, because it is probably the best rivalry in WWE right now. It's Sami Zayn taking on Kevin Owens. These two guys that have been best friends for as long as, I don't even know, they've been friends forever almost since they got into wrestling. And they've come up through the indies and into WWE now. And they're entangled in this great big feud that they've had so many great feuds over the years in the independent scene. And now it's coming to fruition here in WWE. So Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Luke, who do you have in that match?
I like both of them. I like Kevin Owens more, but I think Sami Zayn, uses somebody to or something to screw Owens over. So I see Sami Zayn defeating Kevin Owens this Sunday.
I'm going to go Kevin Owens because I'm thinking further into the future. I have Kevin Owens winning this match, and then they will feud for a few more matches in the upcoming 2 pay-per-views coming up here. I think Owens wins this one, and then Sami Zayn gets the better of him in the next 2 pay-per-views. So that's where I'm going with it. Just Owens winning to set up Sami Zayn to eventually be the victor in this entire rivalry.
And as I said, Vince, I think is leaning towards picking Shane because Shane does what the people want. Hell, the people sing Sami Zayn's theme song, Ole, 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 while he's coming out. So, another reason why I think Zayn wins. And then also, you said the next 2 pay-per-views, you got Extreme Rules coming up here on May 22nd, 3 weeks from this Sunday. And then you have Money in the Bank on June 19th, I believe. Out in Las Vegas, out at the new T-Mobile Arena that was just recently constructed. But enough with that. We also have a Intercontinental Championship match between The Miz, who's been using his wife Maurice by his side, and then the recently returned Cesaro. Tell us more about this match, Corey.
This match is coming on the heels of a Cesaro number one contender victory, I think, match on Raw, I do believe, a few weeks ago, or a week or 2 ago, something like that. I think he won a number one contenders match for the right to face The Miz here at Payback. He is recently returning. I think that bows in his favor, and I'm going to pick him for this match, by the way, because of his return. I think that Miz is kind of a placeholder for this title almost, to give Cesaro that title. Maybe Miz wins and just extends the feud for an eventual Cesaro win, maybe. I just can't see bringing a guy like Cesaro back into just having and then doing nothing with him. He's just too good of a wrestler. People love him, despite what Vince may say. The people do love Cesaro, so I think that Cesaro deserves to have a championship in WWE right now.
Yeah, Cesaro was in it wasn't 2 number one contenders matches ever since he returned. He was in the Fatal 4-Way the night after WrestleMania for the number one contendership for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, and then he was in a number one contenders match, as you said, with Kevin Owens, I believe.
Yes. All right. Yeah, I remember now.
For the number one contendership for the Intercontinental title. And since beat him, so that's why Cesaro is facing The Miz. I'm also going to pick Cesaro. Fans love him. Not much else to say.
All right, moving on to the last match we had before the main event. That is the number one contenders match for the WWE World Tag Team Championship. This is the culmination of a number one contender tournament that has been playing out over the last couple of weeks on Raw and SmackDown.
That was also sponsored by Bootios.
Sponsored by Bootios, because the winner of this match will be facing the New Day for their titles at some other time. I'm not sure if it's at this pay-per-view, maybe the next one. I'm not quite sure. You're not quite sure either, Luke.
Yeah, they haven't really said anything. I know last night, going into last night, we had thought the number one contenders match was going to be on Raw, and then the winner was going to face the New Day this Sunday. But obviously, the number one contenders match is this Sunday, and then they haven't said anything, as we said, when that match is going to be. But it's between...
So this match features 2 recently debuting tag teams from NXT. You have on one corner the Vaudevillains, who were once NXT Tag Team Champions, and then two guys that fans absolutely love down in NXT and on the WWE main roster now too, Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy.
How you doing?
Is that who you're picking, by the way?
Yes. How you doing?
That's all the reason you need, right?
Yes.
How you doing? Yeah, it's Enzo and Kaz. They are the hot up-and-coming tag team for sure. They really are over with the fans. The fans absolutely love them. They're doing the whole thing that Enzo does when they come out. You can't teach that stuff when he comes out. And I mean, I don't even know. I didn't even realize the Vaudevillains were going to come up. They just kind of came out of nowhere, if you ask me. I don't see them being thrown into the title picture right away. So Enzo and Kaz in this one to face the New Day and actually win, I think.
Yeah.
Down the line.
The only thing I can see happening though, if Enzo and Big Cass don't win, is the Dudley Boys interfering. They've had some heat with them recently. Enzo told Bubba Ray, "Keep reading the books, I'll keep writing them," in one of his promos. So that's the only way I can see the Vaudevillains winning if the Dudley Boys interfere, which is a good possibility they do. But, both of us here across the goal line are going to be picking Enzo and Big Cass.
Well, that and it would be a face-on-face type of deal. Because
Yes,
the New Day are faces. The Vaudevillains
would.
are the villains in this. They are the villains, no pun intended, I guess. They are the villains in this match, and Enzo and Kaz are the quote-unquote heroes of this match. So, yeah, that would be kind of an interesting dynamic. Two teams. If Enzo and Kaz wins, them in the New Day, that would be an interesting dynamic of two teams that are loved by fans, wondering who the fans will be cheering for in that match. So we've come to main event time. I stated at the very beginning, at the top of this topic, is the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match between the number one contender AJ Styles and Roman Reigns. Luke, who do you have in this match?
You recently had Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson attack the Usos on Monday Night Raw out in LA 2 weeks ago before they headed overseas for their European tour in the spring. And then there's questions on if, Styles is aligned with them because they're best friends. They're together as part of the Bullet Club, along with, Finn Balor, Fergal Devitt. Who else was in the Bullet Club?
The Young Bucks, Matt Jackson, Kenny Omega now, who's the leader of Bullet Club because they kicked out AJ when he left. And a few Japanese superstars, I think, and some other guys too.
So there, like I said, there's questions on if they're aligned together in WWE now, and the fans just hate Roman. I'm picking AJ Styles.
You think AJ Styles because of the Gallows and Anderson, maybe? You're just picking AJ.
I'm picking the phenomenal one, AJ Styles. Enough said.
You could say I am picking AJ Styles. I'm picking AJ Styles to win the match, but he's not going to be walking out of Payback as the champion because he's going to win by disqualification because of Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson interfering in this match. I think that this means I'm picking Reigns to retain the title in technicality, but I have technically Styles is winning, Reigns retains the title. So just for clarification there. So I think Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson come out, interfere in the match, beat up Roman, cost AJ Styles the World Heavyweight Championship, at which point AJ Styles gets really upset with them. He's like, I don't need your help. I can do it by myself. Why couldn't you guys just stay back there and let me fight my own fight? But then he's like, well, Roman or something can maybe say or claim that he had his guys come out and help him or something. And that's when AJ has been, let me go back. Reigns and others think that AJ Styles is controlling Gallows and Anderson, like you said. But AJ keeps denying. And I think that he isn't because there's another guy that is controlling him. That will be revealed at Payback, I believe. Because a certain guy lost his championship down at NXT here at a house show. His name is Finn Balor. I don't know if you heard of him, Luke. But I think he makes his debut at WWE Payback here as the mastermind behind what Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson are doing right now. So that's what I think happens. He comes out and reveals himself as kind of the leader behind these two guys. He's kind of leading them to do what they are doing. And then he attacks AJ Styles with those two guys. And it sets up a feud for him and AJ Styles going down the line.
I wouldn't mind seeing that happen. I mean, it'd be Two former Bullet Club members going at each other. Interesting. Very interesting.
And with that, that wraps up our little payback preview and predictions. We're going to move in now to the NFL schedules that came out a few weeks ago, April 14th, I think it was. And we're going to go over a few notable games that we have written down for ourselves, along with what divisions play the other divisions, because every year the certain divisions play the other two. They play one division, they play all the teams in the one division from the AFC and the NFC. So, like for example, the NFC South, the Falcons, Saints, Panthers, and Buccaneers, they play the AFC West and the NFC West this year. So they play 8 games against those teams out of those conference or divisions. So we'll start. Luke, do you have any key games you want to talk about?
Obviously my Pittsburgh Steelers. They're going to be playing the New England Patriots at the end of October this year in a rematch of last year's opening week game to start the season, in which the New England Patriots won because Josh Scobie, the former Steelers kicker, that was traded for because Sean Sweezum tore his ACL, couldn't kick a damn football. That's why they lost.
Okay, so yeah, how about that? All right, so other games in the NFL schedule, I have about 5 of them right here. They're kind of notable games that I pulled out from the actual release of the NFL schedules that I looked at. So week 1, the very first game of the season, will be Carolina going into Denver in a rematch of Super Bowl 50. This is the first game of the season. It takes place Thursday, September 8th on the NBC, I think.
Yeah, probably. It's on NBC.
NBC there. Week 1, same week right there. We have New England Patriots taking on the Arizona Cardinals on Sunday Night Football. Now, originally, I had this written down as kind of a Super Bowl preview, as it may end up being the actual Super Bowl. These two teams might be in the Super Bowl, but with the new developments in Tom Brady being suspended for 4 games at the moment, again, we'll see if he comes back, and we'll see if he gets that one nullified too. But if he's not playing that one, it kind of takes away from the luster of it. So we'll just have to see about that. Week 2, there's a very interesting game. Seattle travels to Los Angeles to play the Rams, and this is the first game in Los Angeles since moving to LA over the offseason.
It's going to be at the Coliseum in LA where USC plays at. Pete Carroll, head coach of the Seahawks, was formerly the head coach of the USC football team as well before he bolted to go to Seattle. Is coming home, for the first time. So, be an interesting game.
Moving straight on down the line, week 3 the following week, on Monday Night Football, the Atlanta Falcons travel to the New Orleans Saints to play at the Superdome, and this will mark the 10th anniversary of the Superdome reopening from Hurricane Katrina back in 2005 into 2006. So that's a very emotional, going to be a very high-spirited game, especially for Saints fans. I know that, including myself. So we're going to move forward. I'm going to take a big jump here, moving past a bunch of weeks here into Week 11, which a very notable game is taking place. The Oakland Raiders will take on the Houston Texans in a Monday Night Football game in Mexico City, Mexico. Now, this is the first Monday Night Football game outside of the United States. So that'll be a very interesting game to watch on television and to experience if you are there in Mexico City.
Be the first game in Mexico.
It's the first Monday Night Football game outside of the U.S., though.
Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Because there obviously is. There's 3 more games this year in London.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. They play in London. I must have missed that there. Sorry, Corey.
Yeah, Luke. I mentioned the London games. Do you have anything on that?
The Jacksonville Jaguars will play the Indianapolis Colts in one of those games. The Cincinnati Bengals will play the Washington Redskins. Both of those games will be taking place in October. And then also there's another game in London this year. The LA Rams. The LA Rams, it's just so messed up right now. They don't even have they're building their new stadium. They're playing at USC, for the next 3 years, I think, until their stadium's done. Their headquarters is it looks like a shack. I guess you could call it. And I think they have to play their first 8 games of the year. I think either 5 or 6 of them are on the road. Probably due to scheduling conflicts with USC, because you'll have college football on Saturday, and then the NFL on Sunday, but not sure about that. But the LA Rams will play the New York Football Giants also in London. So there's 3 London games this year, along with the game in Mexico City, as you mentioned. Speaking of the Indianapolis Colts, they play on Thanksgiving this year as well, in the primetime game on Thanksgiving against the Pittsburgh Steelers at home. And I believe that's going to be a Color Rush game. The Color Rush jerseys got introduced last year. I don't like them. I think they look like crap. They'll play the Steelers. The Detroit Lions will play the Vikings. And the Dallas Cowboys will play the Washington Redskins. So the Redskins play on the Redskins play on Thanksgiving, and they also play overseas in London. Hopefully the Minnesota Vikings can beat the Detroit Lions. And hopefully my Pittsburgh Steelers can beat the Colts. The Lions and Cowboys have always played on Thanksgiving as long as I can remember. Going back to, whenever. I'm not sure about the exact story on that, but...
Luke, you say there is also a few games on Christmas Day, actually.
Yeah, the Steelers also play on Christmas, too. They play on the 2 major holidays this year. And there's also games on New Year's Day as well, because New Year's Day is on a Sunday this year, and the NFL owns Sundays. They run Sundays. The Steelers play the Ravens on Christmas, and then the Broncos play at the Chiefs.
What about New Year's?
New Year's?
Is this just a regular week?
Yeah, it's just a regular week, full slate of 16 games. Christmas weekend, the week prior, there's only 2 games on Christmas, obviously, because Christmas is on a Sunday this year. The rest of those games will be played on Christmas Eve, the day before, December 24th.
Okay, moving on to some of the dynamics that these schedules have this year. The divisional opponents for each division. I mentioned it kind of a little bit at the beginning when I introduced the topic. So we have the NFC South, who I already did this for. It's the Carolina Panthers, the New Orleans Saints, the Atlanta Falcons, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They play the AFC West, which is the Broncos, Chiefs, Raiders, and Chargers, and also the NFC West, which is the Cardinals, Seahawks, 49ers, and Rams. So that means they play those 8 teams at some point during their schedule. So now you know that. We'll move on. The NFC East plays both the NFC and the AFC North. The NFC North plays the AFC South and the NFC East. The NFC West plays the NFC South and the AFC East. And moving on to the AFC East plays the NFC West and the AFC North. The AFC North plays the AFC East and the NFC East. The AFC South plays the NFC North and the AFC West. And the AFC West plays the NFC South and the AFC South. So, Luke, knowing that, I think you already mentioned it, the Patriots playing the Steelers later in the year. You mentioned that. That's part of that divisional thing right there. Do you think that, knowing this, do you have any games off the top of your head just based on that you think might be interesting?
No, not off the top of my head, I don't. But our question of the week this week is, what matchup do you think is the best for the NFL this season? I did mention, though, my Pittsburgh Steelers are playing the Patriots in a rematch. This time, though, it's in Pittsburgh, unlike last year's up in Foxborough. So that's my matchup. What's yours?
Mine is the one I mentioned earlier, Week 3, the Atlanta Falcons and New Orleans Saints. My New Orleans Saints playing at home, the 10th anniversary of the reopening since Hurricane Katrina. It's going to be a really great game to watch for me personally, and I hope the Saints can pick up the win in that one. So you guys can answer that question on Facebook, Twitter, the YouTube comment section. Make sure you do that. If you're Luke, you want to do is the hashtag available, Luke?
Yeah, the hashtag is now available. You can use the hashtag ATGL16. That's ATGL16.
Yeah, use that if you're answering that question on Twitter. On Facebook, you don't really need to use it because they don't use those. So yeah, Facebook, Twitter, the YouTube comment section. You can email it to us too. However you want to answer that question, please answer it for us. Just please. All right, moving forward, we have goal line stand right now. This is, of course, our quick fire, rapid fire question almost round, where we take a lot more current things that are in the news and we present them to Luke. So, Luke, I'll start out goal line stand with this question. Recent events saying that Sam Bradford wishes to be traded from the Eagles because of the trading up of the number 2 pick by the Eagles. Do you think this is a smart move by Sam Bradford, and where do you think he ends up?
He's going to wind up staying in Philadelphia, I think. He was a Heisman Trophy winner at Oklahoma back in 2008, 2009. 2008, 2009. He was drafted number 1 overall pick in 2010 NFL draft by the St. Louis Rams, and then they traded him last year for Nick Foles. Both players are still on those respective teams. He's just, I don't know what to say. He's going to stay in Philly. He's not going to get traded.
You think he's not going to get traded? He's just going to be miserable in Philly?
Yeah.
Maybe backing up Carson Wentz, maybe something like that.
That'd be nice because Bradford, he's been hurt his whole career. Going back to shoulder injuries at Oklahoma, and then he blew his knee out like 2 or 3 times. With the Rams, he hasn't lived up to the hype. He doesn't deserve the money that he just got. I think he re-signed for 2 years, $14 million, if I'm not mistaken. So he'll stay in Philly. Long story short.
All right, we talked about Josh Norman becoming a free agent last week on Goal Line Stand, and Luke, you said that he would be signed with someone before the NFL draft, and here we are. He is. He signed a 5-year, $75 million deal with the Washington Redskins. So, with him going to the Redskins, do you think that the Redskins might improve upon their last season?
Maybe a tad bit. Yeah, he did sign the day after we recorded last week. The same day we uploaded it last Friday. So, yeah, he signed a 5-year, $75 million with the Redskins. He'll help out a little bit, but not much. I think the Redskins just wasted a bunch of money on him.
All right, with recent developments that happened last night in the Los Angeles Clipper and Portland Trailblazer game, Chris Paul broke his hand or broke a bone in his hand or something on his shooting hand. So what are the chances the Clippers have going forward without Chris Paul?
Slim. He's probably going to be out the rest of the postseason. Blake Griffin is also hurt his knee, hamstring. He was actually out most of the season with that injury, speaking of Griffin. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Blazers ended up winning the series now. They tied it up 2-2 last night, as you said. Going back to LA now. It's a 7-game series. Anything can happen. There's still 3 games left.
Yeah, you say that. Damian Lillard be able to maybe go off a little bit more without Chris Paul on him now. So we're going to wrap up Goal Line Stand with a pick for you, Luke. So there's a Game 7 tomorrow night in Anaheim in the NHL playoffs. We have the Nashville Predators taking on the Anaheim Ducks. Who do you have in that one moving on to the next round?
Well, I picked the Anaheim Ducks to win the series in our hockey predictions for the playoffs. I'm actually doing pretty well with those predictions at the moment. So I'm going to, stick with those Ducks and pick the Anaheim Ducks to, win Game 7 tomorrow night. Actually, tonight, if you're listening to this, because this will be uploaded today sometime.
Yeah, this will be uploaded about a few hours before that game takes place. So if you're listening to it after that game, that pick is kind of useless. You'll already know by then. But nevertheless, we're going to wrap that up here today. Thank you for listening to Across the Goal Line here. You can hit us up on social media. Make sure you like us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter at ATGL16. Make sure you use that hashtag if you're answering the question of the week there, the hashtag ATGL16 as well. Make sure you use that if you're answering the question. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already. You'll be alerted whenever we upload this video right now if you are subscribed to us. So that will really help you. Also, the timestamps in the video, if you want to skip past anything, maybe you want to skip past Payback today, maybe you want to skip past NASCAR today, who knows. You can do that. That's in the description along with all the topics that we discussed today in all previous videos as well. You can also email us any questions, concerns at acrossthegoalline2016@gmail.com. It's acrossthegoalline2016@gmail.com for any questions or concerns about this podcast. So, again, thank you for listening to this edition of Across the Goal Line, and we will see you next time right here from the field.